So welcome folks, lovely to have Vicki Davis, cool cat teacher.
Yes.
Live chatting here today. Thank you so much for stopping by for a chat.
Yeah.
I'm already slightly on that upper level of AI enthusiasm after the session that you chaired yesterday, which was bringing together some of the biggest voices, I think, in terms of what's happening in the US education system. What were your highlights from that session?
So that particular session had people sharing their favorite tools. Our challenge was we didn't have time to talk about the challenges of AI. So I was actually on a panel at 10:30 where we talked about the ethical issues. And the big thing that I just want people to know is, yes, there's all these great tools out there and they're cool and they can save us time. But we also have to consider privacy. So, when somebody says, I wrote an IEP or I wrote a confidential parent email using ChatGPT or Claude or whatever they're using, kind of like, okay, that's a really bad idea because you're giving that information to that particular company about that private situation. So just learning about the role artificial intelligence has talking to kids about AI is really important. But the apps are all cool and there are a lot of time-saving apps. I mean, there was one demonstrated that from Brisk that makes the slides for you.
That was great. Yeah.
And that really does save time, and teachers love that. There's a lot of tools that can help you with assessment, but we have to remember that it's a helper. It would be like having a paraprofessional. A paraprofessional might help you with your grades, but you always check back over that person's work because ultimately you're the master teacher. You're the person who's supposed to know how to do the content and teach and relating with the students. So whatever we use in AI has to be supervised, and it's only going to get you 80 to 85% of the way there.
We're on a journey in the UK, and one of my roles is I chair a multi-academy trust, a cluster of schools in the east of England. And on our journey in the UK, we're at a point where we're using AI tools for teacher time saving and preparation, but we tend to avoid uploading student data. So we use it for creating resources, but unless they're very much ring-fenced education AI tools for that whole mindset of privacy, and are we actually putting our student data into a much bigger data lake somewhere else that we lose control over. But interestingly, the biggest pressures on our schools in the UK right now are teacher retention and recruitment.
Yeah.
That's the biggest pressure, along with children's social, emotional, mental health. So we're kind of saying, not tell people what they can't do, but try and educate them on how to do things safely, I guess, which follows that theme that you've been sharing, isn't it?
Well, it's always about human relationships. To move forward, we have to have that human intelligence. But one of the most exciting uses in my classroom has been to make custom GPTs or to use chatbots to teach specific content. So AI is really terrible at like a broad subject. So if you say grade 10 physical science, okay, it's not going to be the greatest there, but if you say I'm teaching the chemical properties of boron or something really narrow, you can create a chatbot. Gemini calls them gems, custom GPTs, which now you can use without signing in. You do have to teach kids, though, what they're going to put in there and what the use is. This is not the full ChatGPT for your use. This is specifically talking about this particular topic. I used it in computer science. I teach Python. So my kids were having trouble with parameters and arguments, and so I created a tool that would tutor them on parameters and arguments. There was the tool yesterday we tested called Sorcerer, which I hate the name, but oh well, for Harry Potter fans who love it. But it will create a chatbot, and so basically the student goes in and says, I'm learning about this, and it will ask them questions to get their score up to 100 with their content knowledge. Which is a very good
That can be a good motivator as well. Yeah,
I think the biggest thing is that all these tools are coming, but as teachers you need to be able to supervise. So I was working some with Conmigo, but I had issues supervising the way it was set up last year. So I look forward to trying to test it this year, because whatever we use with our students, we must supervise, just because that's our responsibility. But I will say for tutoring, because think about it, some people have parents, I would call out spelling words to my kids, and I would review all kinds of things. And I have a college education, and so I can help them with chemistry. But not everybody has that, and so people will get tutors for their children. not everybody has that opportunity. So if you can use AI to be a tutor, it's a great leveler.
Absolutely. I think historically, certainly in many regions, there's place-based opportunity for young children, there's socio-economic opportunities. And you do see it as being that leveler and accessing that resource.
Absolutely.
The interesting one, I guess, following on from that, because it's ever changing. Only last week, I think Anthropic and Claude have got their latest iteration that's got some great coding tools and resources. But we're trying to connect the dots and say, that effective prompt engineering, asking the right questions, empowering our learners, they're kind of the soft skills that are now power skills that employers are looking for young people anyway. So in a way, that discussion in the classroom is also empowering those kind of cognitive, critical thinking skills that we want to develop anyway.
And it's related to technology. So I do an app building project every year using a tool called MadLearn, and we build apps. And I've been disappointed the last couple of years because I'm at a very diverse school, but my teams, when the kids self-select, were not diverse. So Adam Grant wrote a book called Collective Intelligence, and he has a whole chapter on how to build collective intelligence. And there's some things that kill collective intelligence. Okay, narcissism. They actually did a study on the NBA here in the U.S., and they found if they had a narcissistic point guard, that their performance over the season went down. So when you have a person who joins a team who is narcissistic, often not cognizant that they are, it can destroy a team. So we actually spent a day talking about what is narcissism, and we talked about the NBA because that's non-threatening, and how we have to include everybody in the conversation. We also looked at some of the statistics on like a group, and when you have a mixed group, male, female, different races, and what that does for the final product. Then we also talked about pro-social behavior, and that's the one that a lot of kids after the pandemic have trouble with, because the smarter kids will say, I just want to do it by myself, I don't want to work with people. And I always say, okay, then you're replaceable. Because AI will work with a person and will kind of more work in isolation. But to move ahead, we have to have creativity, we have to have pro-social skills, and it's all about humans, because humans, I always say, AI is a tool that humans rule. To move forward, we have to have those human connections. And so what happened after those 3 days was awesome. I had the most diverse teams I'd ever had. I had some girls, some African American and some Caucasian girls, and they went and recruited a boy for their team. And people were mixing their teams up in ways that I had never seen before. And I realized that, technology is great, but we should be teaching about collective intelligence because, we have emotional intelligence, we have the regular old human intelligence, we have our artificial intelligence, but collective intelligence, that conversation has to be elevated because it's so important.
And I love that. One project that I worked for a couple of years on in the UK was working on a work stream with the Foundation for Education and the OECD, and they're revising their method for the PISA rankings. And we all know the high-performing school systems around the world, and we can take our own view on how effective that measure is. But they're looking to move away from that snapshot of 15-year-olds and what they've managed to achieve. And I love this kind of phrase, looking at an education system that promotes human flourishing. Sense that rather than measuring on how much children of knowledge have acquired at a certain point, how do we measure their love of learning, their cognitive critical thinking skills, their creativity? Do children leave school at 16 or 18 thinking, thank goodness that's over, never again, or with a passion to always want to be a learner for life? And that really plays to me in that conversation that the more we are using AI in education and in the workplace, the more it amplifies the value of human skills, that human element. And it's kind of moving away from the, will AI replace a good teacher? So, no, never. AI amplifies the value of that human-to-human interaction, but it might free up more time for that human magic to happen.
I use it for formative assessment. I create custom GPTs, and I've been using them on my phone. And so if I have a particular project, I even used it on logo design, or because it'll do graphic design. Yeah. They could snap a picture of a screenshot of their app and get feedback, and it would say, oh, you might need more contrast with these colors, or you might need this. Now here's the thing I did not like very much. Sometimes if I had told them the same thing, and AI told them the same thing, they wouldn't change until AI told them. Now that bothers me because somehow they're thinking that it has more knowledge than Miss Davis, right? And we would have conversations. Okay, so we talked about this yesterday, and I said you probably didn't have enough contrast. But then you use the AI custom GPT to give you feedback today, and it said you didn't have enough contrast, and you went and changed your logo. Why did you change it today and not yesterday? You know? Well, I figured if you told me and AI told me, then it was probably right. I'm like, so you're saying you need verification. Now, it's not bad to verify what your teacher says. That's not a bad thing. But when I told you, maybe you should have immediately gone and checked to verify instead of waiting, because that makes me as the teacher feel like that you only trust the AI and you don't trust me. And I'm the content expert. I mean, I've done this for years, right?
Yeah.
So I think that there is a flaw that all of us have, that somehow AI is more intelligent, it's more accurate, and those things are not true at all. You have to have content knowledge. So one thing I like to do with my kiddos is have them, like if they love soccer, we call it football, right? They have ChatGPT generate an essay on that topic. Who is the best football player in the world, right? And write it and see if you agree with it. Well, they're going to know all these things. Well, no, this is not right. This is not right. And I'm like, well, when you have your literature teacher and they're teaching Shakespeare and you generate a ChatGPT, do you not understand that they're going to see all these flaws in here because you've not taken the time to actually learn the content? So helping everyone understand. They're so amazed. Oh, look, it's typing. It's typing faster than a human. It sounds smart. But we all know that person who sounds smart and doesn't know anything.
But that developing that critical thinking, that challenge. I mean, people said to me about not trusting AI output, and that's why we're really nervous. And I think, but do you trust what you see on your social media within that echo chamber that gets created? When you do a Google search, do you take the result that's first in the list as definitively the best resource? In all these, it's about being informed to actually challenge the authenticity, the balance. And so actually indirectly, I think you are teaching really creative life skills that one opinion isn't given, and just because it does it quick doesn't make it right or the best. So it's interesting that it's actually an opportunity to teach different human skills around the AI conversation.
But we have to have teachers involved in the AI conversation and understand the ethics behind it. So for example, I allow my students to use AI to help them create their first draft of their logo. But I want them to go and drag it into image search to ensure that AI is not plagiarized.
That's a good one, I like that, yeah.
So, well, AI generated it. Well, ultimately, you're accountable for that. So if you share it, you're accountable. And you can't say AI did it, so it's not my responsibility. And no human can do that. No human can say, well, AI mistaught these. Like, AI is really, I have found, not great at spelling. It's really not. I mean, I saw a thing on social media about how they couldn't make ChatGPT spell strawberry correctly. I tried to create some content for my elementary teachers with the letters, and I thought, oh, they're teaching the letter B. I'll generate a cute little story using the letter B. And I asked it to use the letter B and no words longer than 4 letters and single syllable. They couldn't do it. Now, this was last year, but it couldn't do it. And maybe we'll get there, but it still has limitations.
It's changing every day, every week, isn't it? That's part of that journey of the technology and how it's improving. Although it's interesting because we'll keep innovating these new solutions, and it creates both new opportunities and also a fresh set of challenges around privacy and data use and copyright.
Well, we should all be concerned, though. I read an economist who said that in the U.S. that we will have rolling brownouts by 2027 because of the power usage of AI. So AI comes at a cost, and I think that we've all got to understand it's actually very expensive to run. We all have it free now. It's actually very expensive, and it's going to have a global impact on our energy consumption. There is not enough copper in the world to double the power grid of the U.S. That's what it's going to take to handle artificial intelligence running and doing all the things everybody wants to do, and it's growing exponentially, and still be able to run my refrigerator. And that's a real concern to me.
And that poses a question of equity around the globe and when you think further ahead. I'm conscious of time. While we've still got power, I want to really thank you for stopping by for a chat.
Thank you.
And more importantly, thank you for all the content and resources you share consistently. You're one of my go-to sources, and it's always a pleasure to dip into what you share.
And it's nice to connect. Is this our first time face-to-face?
I think it might be.
It is.
It's one of those scary ones where you've got to know people from a digital world, but it's lovely to catch up with you.
Yes.
So thank you again.
You.